You wanna watch an internet video?
Joe Pera Talks With You is not your regular Adult Swim show. It's not chaotic and weird, nor does it make you question the very essence of life in a way that can only be described as Adult Swim-esque. But rather, Joe Pera is quite the opposite. He's calm, he's soothing, and in a world dominated by loud and often narcissistic people, Joe sticks out like a sore thumb for all the right reasons. You see, there is no real end goal for Joe Pera, no overarching narrative full of tiny side quests and missions, but rather, it's just a man that talks about all of the little things that excite him in a way that genuinely makes you feel his excitement.
Beans. They've got it all. Protein, carbs, fiber, affordable.
So, if the show is so ordinary, why do people love it so passionately? Well, allow me to explain. You see, Joe Pera Talks With You was greenlit by Adult Swim in 2018, after the resounding success of his Joe Pera Talks You to Sleep specials, which I still listen to when I can't get to sleep and I'm having a restless night. So a big thank you to Joe Pera for that, it means a lot to me personally. Anyway, moving on to the show, the calm and relaxing tone for Joe Pera Talks With You is set straight away through a number of stylistic choices. The pacing is slow, which gives us ample time to appreciate the little things, just as Joe does. The costume design is also immaculate, essentially painting Joe Pera as a modern-day Mr. Rogers, with the cardigan and checkered shirt reflecting Joe's maturity and his grandfatherly wisdom.
The Upper Peninsula is a rock hound's paradise, and I'd like to introduce you to some of the most special of our rocks and minerals.
In terms of the sound design, the show does an excellent job of finding the balance between relaxing instrumentals and pure silence, when a scene is awkward enough to warrant it. Perhaps, say, when a character doesn't appreciate or understand Joe's genuine wholesomeness.
Oh, don't laugh, this isn't funny, okay? It is serious to him. He is trying.
I need a win.
And this seeming lack of conflict becomes even more substantial when you compare Joe Pera with modern-day entertainment, where the pacing has to be lightning fast and have a million things going on at once. And if there isn't a $100,000 reward or a Tesla at stake, then it isn't even considered entertainment. And in my view, one of the best parts of Joe Pera Talks to You in Season 1 is the minimalistic dialogue paired with the uninterrupted shots.
And the Lake Superior agate. These are a few of my favorite regional minerals.
And this is seen in particular when Joe is describing the things that he loves most. And this use of minimalistic dialogue allows for an incredibly natural ambience, to the point where I don't even feel like I'm watching a television show anymore, but rather I'm being comforted by an old buddy who just wants to show me what he's interested in and involve me in his hobbies once more. And this is best demonstrated in the episode Joe Pera Takes You to the Grocery Store, in which Joe tells us the system he uses to decide whether he's going to buy a certain food.
Should I eat this? Will I eat this? Can I afford this food? If I say yes to all three, I'll get it.
And the reason that I point to this episode in particular is that because of Joe's warm and welcoming demeanor, he is able to transform the mundane task of picking out vegetables at the grocery store into an activity that you can't help but feel thankful that you're invited to. And almost everyone shares this enjoyment of being around such a wholesome and calming man, as Joe has no real enemies, but rather he is able to develop a strong bond with one of his older neighbors, Gene.
My friend Gene is a true rock hound and agreed to share what he knows about the Lake Superior agate.
And he's even able to use his wholesome charm to woo his girlfriend and fellow teacher, Sarah Connor.
I don't know if it's relaxing, but Brad Cam sent me this on Monday and I think you'll find it entertaining.
However, there is a reason that I say almost everyone, as even the nicest man on the planet, Joe Pera, isn't particularly appreciated by Gene's wife, Lulu.
Can I just say sorry that me and Gene put a bullet in the microwave?
Let's just get started.
However, even when Joe feels that Lulu isn't embracing him, he is still the kind and warm gentleman that he always is. And I truly believe that Joe is just like this in real life. I mean, sure, Joe Pera is a little bit of an act, but I mean, even just look at the episodes themselves, such as Joe Pera Takes You on a Fall Drive, which was written in memory of Joe's recently deceased grandmother. And honestly, this is such a kind tribute, and it just goes to show what kind of man Joe Pera is in real life as well. But hey, that's just my opinion. So, how did the show's inaugural season perform with critics and audience members? Well, that's an easy answer. It performed incredibly well, with heaps of positive comments being flooded on every Joe Pera post on Adult Swim's social media. In particular, pointing out how wholesome and comforting Joe Pera is, and how he has helped many people process trauma or even help them with addiction recovery. And through my own personal experience, Joe Pera has helped me through many sleepless nights. And of course, Adult Swim saw the love that the show was getting and renewed it for season 2 and eventually season 3, which for an Adult Swim show to make it past season 2 is actually pretty impressive. So, how did the show Joe Pera Talks With You develop through season 2 and season 3? Well, the show did what it did best. It kept it simple and lighthearted.
Cool. I actually like asparagus.
That is cool.
Exploring more of Joe and his relationship with Sarah, and building upon the strong friendship that he shares with Jean. And this is seen straight away in the opening episode of season 2, where Joe helps his grandmother with the gardening, and then once his grandmother asks if he can build a bean arch, Joe then goes over to Jean and asks him for a helping hand. And eventually, once this bean arch is built to completion, the neighbors all gather round and appreciate the beauty of Joe and Jean's work, even if it's just a bean arch and perhaps an excuse to have a toast of brandy. And this, right here, is what I love about the show. There are 3 seasons and 32 episodes, and yet at no point during the show does it ever feel like the tone is going to become snarky or sarcastic. I mean, take for example season 2 episode 6, Joe Pera goes to Dave Wojcik's bachelor party, where Joe is put in the uncomfortable position of having to hang out and drink with people his own age.
Not the ball, dumbass. I need a brewski like my mama needs a kidney.
How's she doing, by the way?
She's hanging in there.
Yeah.
And in most shows, this scene would devolve into the boys making fun of Joe, perhaps even pressuring him into excessive drinking and other things that he's uncomfortable with. However, the show is brilliant at sticking to its philosophy of new sincerity, with the boys embracing Joe and making him feel welcomed. Although, it must be stated that throughout the series, Joe Pera himself is not without concern or doubt, and like many of us, is worried about what the future may hold.
At the same time, I can't imagine moving away from our kid.
And on the rare occasion that Joe finds himself contemplating something deep, he always manages to navigate himself back to the simple pleasures of life, once more taking comfort in beans or vegetables or anything else that he views as a wonder to the world. And it's this appreciation for the simple things that allows Joe Pera to avoid the pitfalls of modern entertainment, in which the stakes always have to be higher and higher than the last upload, or perhaps a significant conflict has to arise for a story to even be interesting. And unfortunately, because many audiences have been programmed to expect these things, Joe Pera Talks With You has never quite become as popular as it truly deserves to be. As when an audience turns in to watch a comedy show, particularly one on Adult Swim, they most likely have something Eric Andre-esque in mind.
My body is now your communion. Please eat from me. Eat from me.
And in turn, this audience most likely isn't going to stick around to hear Joe Pera talking about rather mundane topics such as rocks. And so, no matter how much love Joe Pera Talks With You gets from myself and the rest of the fanbase, the truth is that with the merger of Adult Swim and Warner Brothers, Joe Pera simply couldn't exist on the network any further. However, there is a silver lining, as Joe Pera proved that comedy doesn't need to be so spiteful in the modern age, and that it's okay to take a breath and appreciate all of the beauty that surrounds us.
I'll just have to visit 4.6 waterfalls a year if I'm going to see the rest before I die at age 85.
And not to worry, this certainly isn't the end of Joe Pera, as he's still producing content for YouTube as well as performing his stand-up routine for crowds all across the USA, with his most recent stand-up special reaching almost 1 million views. And as always, stay safe, stay happy, stay wholesome.